Shabbat Tov Rabotai. The Mishnah Yomi continues in the fourth parak of Maaser Sheni. Mishnah Hey. Haya Omed Begorin. He's standing in the threshing floor, which was typically outside of town. Ve'ein biado maut. He has no money. And he left his wallet at home. And what he wants to do is have somebody redeem his Maaser Sheni for him so he does not have to add the Chomish. Omer lechavero, he says to his friend, a trusted friend here, Hareya perota elu netunim lecha b'matana. I'm giving you all of these produce as a gift. And at this stage, at the goren, this is where they're doing the threshing, finishing it up, it's tevel. He hasn't separated the tithes yet. And this is going to allow him, we're going to see, to be as if he's the third party and redeem the Maaser Sheni without adding the fifth. Basically, he's giving it away so he can be the one to redeem it. Choser v'omer, he goes back and says, Harei elu mechulolin al ma'od shebebayit. This Maaser Sheni, now that they've separated the tithes from the tevel crops, the Maaser Sheni portion is mechulal on coins I have at home. And then the unspoken assumption is the chaver is going to give it back to him, the rest of the crops. Now, Mishnah Vav is a case of transferring the Kedusha of Maaser Sheni through a sale. So the default situation here is that Ruvain has Maaser Sheni produce, and he sells it to Shimon for a sela. And what's going to happen is the produce is now chulin. It's mechulal on the sela, and Ruvain's going to take that sela to Yerushalayim and spend it on Maaser Sheni. Now, that's the default case. Now, Mishnah Vav says, Moshach mimenu Maaser b'sela, meaning Shimon draws close. This is a kinyan mishicha. He's pulling the crop into his property, into his reshus, b'sela, while it is worth a sela for the amount of produce. Lo hisbik liftaisa, but he doesn't actually redeem it by paying the money until the price has increased. There's been inflation, and now that amount of produce is worth 2. So what does Shimon do? Noten lo sela. Shimon gives Reuven 1 sela. That was the agreed upon contractual price. Mistaker b'sela. So really, he's made a sela because now he's holding 2 selaim worth of produce, and he's only paid a sela for it. But now he has an issue because he's redeemed half of the Maaser Sheni. He's redeemed it through the sale, but really the value was 2 sela. We go after the value right now, and he's redeemed it halfway. Because 1 sela has Kedushas Maaser Sheni, and now the other half of the Maaser Sheni produce needs to still be redeemed onto his own money, Maaser Sheni Shalo. So at the end of the day, Ruvain who sold it, ends up with 1 sela with Kedushas Maaser Sheni, and Shimon ends up with the chulin produce, and he's redeemed the other half onto 1 sela, which has Kedushas Maaser Sheni. Now the Mishnah brings an opposite case. Moshach Memenu Maaser b'shtayim. He did the kinyan, the handshake, or l'maisa here, it's drawing the crop into his domain, when the price was 2 sela. Lo hisbik liftaito ajama b'sela. And there was deflation, so now this crop is worth 1 sela. It's interesting to note, Chazal always assume more or less a free market economy, and there is supply and demand, so prices do change. So now the price has gone down. Notin lo sela, mechulin, the seller from Maaser Sheni shalo. So when Shimon pays for the produce, so he gives him a chulin coin, 1 coin of chulin, and he can give him another coin that's Maaser Sheni, because he has a contract to pay 2, but now the produce of Maaser Sheni is worth half the value. It's really only worth 1, so he gives him 1 coin that's chulin, and that coin is going to become Maaser Sheni, and the other half of the purchase price that they agreed upon, he can give it from Maaser Sheni money that's already has Kedushas Maaser Sheni, and Reuven will take both sela up to Yerushalayim and spend it there. Im haya amaretz noten lo midamai. And if the seller was an amaretz, which we've mentioned previously, we're concerned, you might not be so careful with the Maaser Sheni, so you can give him demai. Give him with money that you took Maaser Sheni onto this money out of Suffolk, which is demai money. Shkoyach Rabosai.